The little girl saw an unconscious mafia boss laying by the roadside, all wounded and bruised. She was taught to help people in need, but was marveled at how people walked past him without a second glance despite his pleas. She quickly rushed to him. Maya Rodriguez wasn't supposed to take the shortcut through the industrial district, but her worn-out shoes were killing her feet, and she just wanted to get home. The sun was setting fast, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement, and that's when she heard it, a low, desperate groan that made her blood run cold. There he was, a man slumped against a chain-link fence, his expensive leather jacket torn and soaked with blood. His motorcycle lay twisted 20 feet away, chrome glinting in the dying light, a trail of destruction marking where he'd crashed. But what stopped Maya's heart wasn't the wreckage. It was the people. 3 different adults had walked past this dying man in the last minute alone. Just walked right by like he was invisible. Like his whispered, "Help me," was just wind. Maya's mother always said, "Baby, we might not have much, but we always help when someone's hurting." So despite every instinct screaming at her to run, despite her hands shaking so hard she could barely grip her backpack, Maya ran to him, not away. "Sir? Sir, can you hear me?" Her voice cracked, but she steadied it. "Be brave, Maya. Be brave." The man's eyes fluttered open, dark, intense eyes that had probably seen terrible things. But right now they just looked scared, lost, human. Blood seeped from a gash on his head, his arm bent at a wrong angle, his breathing shallow and labored. "Little girl," he rasped, "run. Dangerous." But Maya was already unzipping her backpack with trembling fingers, pulling out the little first aid kit her school nurse had given her after she'd mentioned wanting to help people someday. Band-aids and gauze that suddenly felt pathetically small against all this blood. But it was something. It was something. "I'm not leaving you," Maya said firmly, pressing gauze against the head wound with both small hands. "You're bleeding too much. Stay awake, okay? Stay with me." This man, Dante Moretti, though she'd never know that name until tomorrow, was a kingpin, a legend in the underground. The man who controlled half the city's streets, who made grown men cross themselves and pray. 2 hours ago, his enemies had forced him off the road at 70 miles per hour, then circled back to make sure he was done. They'd left him bleeding out like garbage, certain no one would dare help the infamous Dante Moretti. They didn't count on an 8-year-old girl who'd never heard his name. "You're gonna be okay." Maya kept talking, her voice stronger now, teacher-like. "My mama says talking helps. So I'm gonna talk. My name's Maya. I'm in 3rd grade. I got a B on my math test yesterday, but an A on my reading." Dante tried to smile, tried to tell this tiny angel to save herself. But his vision was blurring, darkness creeping in from the edges. All he could see was her face, round cheeks, determined brown eyes, Adora the Explorer Band-Aid wrapper between her teeth as she worked. This child, treating him like he mattered, like he was worth saving. "Don't close your eyes," Maya commanded when his eyelids drooped. She grabbed his face with bloody little hands. "Hey, stay awake. I need you to stay awake." She looked around frantically. No phone. No adults, just empty warehouses and that infuriating stream of people who kept walking past, kept ignoring them. Rage bubbled up in her chest, hot and fierce. How could they just walk away? "Help!" Maya screamed into the twilight. "Somebody help US." A shop owner finally looked out his window, finally saw, finally called 911. Maya stayed, pressed gauze, talked, refused to let this stranger slip away. "Thank you," Dante whispered, his voice barely there. His blood-stained hand reached up, touched her cheek with surprising gentleness. "Little angel, thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Maya said fiercely. "You gotta live first. Promise me you'll live." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder, closer. Dante's eyes were closing, but he was still breathing, still fighting. "Promise," Maya demanded, tears streaming down her face now. "Promise," he breathed, and then darkness took him. The ambulance arrived in a blaze of lights and motion. Paramedics swarmed, professional and quick. One of them tried to pull Maya back, but she wouldn't let go of Dante's hand until they loaded him onto the gurney. "You save his life, sweetie," a paramedic told her gently. You're a hero. Maya watched the ambulance disappear into the night, her hands still shaking, still covered in a stranger's blood. She didn't feel like a hero. She felt exhausted and scared, and her mother was going to freak out when she saw her clothes. Walking home, Maya had no idea she'd just saved the most dangerous man in the city. No idea that 100 motorcycles would line her street tomorrow. No idea that one moment of pure compassion had just changed absolutely everything. She just knew she'd help someone who needed it. Maya woke up to what sounded like the apocalypse. Vroom, vroom, vroom. The entire house was shaking. Pictures rattled on walls. Her window vibrated so hard she thought it might shatter. It was 6 a.m. on a Saturday, and the world outside sounded like 1,000 angry thunder gods had descended on her quiet street. Maya, her mother, burst into the room, eyes wild with panic. Get away from the window! But Maya was already there, pressing her face against the glass, and what she saw made her heart stop. Motorcycles. Everywhere. 100 gleaming machines lined up on both sides of her street in perfect military formation, their riders dressed in black leather, arms crossed, standing like an army. Chrome glinted in the early morning sun. Engines rumbled in synchronized chaos. The entire neighborhood was awake now. Doors opening, people shouting, someone screaming, kids crying, absolute pandemonium erupting as everyone assumed this was a gang hit. Oh God, what did we do? Maya's mother grabbed her daughter, pulling her back. Who did we? And then the engines cut. All of them. Simultaneously. The sudden silence was somehow more terrifying than the noise. One man stepped forward from the formation. Tall, commanding, still bandaged around his head and ribs, but standing like a king. His leather jacket couldn't hide the medical wrapping, but his presence couldn't be hidden by anything. The morning sun caught his dark eyes as he removed his sunglasses with deliberate slowness. Maya gasped. That's him. Mama, that's the man I helped. What? Her mother's face went white as a sheet. The man, Dante Moretti, though the neighborhood whispered his name like a curse, walked toward their house carrying a bouquet of roses so massive it looked absurd in his scarred hands. Every step was measured, purposeful. Behind him, 100 bikers watched in absolute silence. Neighbors peered from windows, too terrified to come outside, but too curious to look away. Knock, knock, knock. 3 solid knocks on their door that felt like hammer blows to the heart. Don't answer it, Maya's mother whispered, but her voice had no conviction. You didn't ignore a knock like that. Mama, he needs to know I'm okay. Maya was already at the door, her mother scrambling after her, grabbing her shoulder. Baby, you don't understand who. But Maya had already turned the knob. Dante Moretti stood on their crumbling porch, this legendary crime boss, this man who made politicians sweat and rivals disappear, and he dropped to one knee. Got down on Maya's level, those intense dark eyes suddenly soft, suddenly almost vulnerable. Hello again, little angel, he said quietly. The entire street held its breath. You came back. Maya's face lit up like Christmas morning. You promised you'd live, and you did. Something in Dante's expression cracked. Just for a second. Like this child's pure joy had punched through armor built over decades. He extended the roses toward her, his hands that had done unspeakable things, trembling slightly. I came to say thank you, Dante said, his voice carrying across the silent street. You saved my life, Maya Rodriguez. When everyone else walked away, when grown men and women left me to die on that road, you stopped. You helped. You stayed. Maya's mother finally found her voice. Mr. Moretti, we didn't know who. That's exactly why it matters. Dante stood now, addressing her directly, respectfully. Your daughter didn't help me because of who I am. She helped me because I was human, because I was hurt, because she has something most people lost a long time ago, compassion. He turned back to the crowd of neighbors now slowly emerging from their houses, drawn by the spectacle. This little girl, Dante's voice rose, commanding attention like a general addressing troops, showed me more mercy in 5 minutes than I've seen in 20 years. She's 8 years old, and she's got more courage than men twice my size. And I'm here to tell all of you, this family is under my protection now. Always. The weight of those words settled over the street like a physical thing. Mrs. Rodriguez, Dante continued, pulling an envelope from his jacket. This isn't charity. This is gratitude. Inside is information about a job at one of my legitimate businesses. Good pay, benefits, respect. You earned it by raising an incredible daughter. And Maya, he looked down at her again. Anything you need for school, for your future, for your dreams, you ask. Understood. Maya nodded, still holding the roses that were almost bigger than she was. I don't know what to say. Her mother whispered, tears streaming now. Say you'll accept my protection. Say you'll let me repay the debt I owe. Dante's voice was iron and velvet simultaneously. Because make no mistake, I owe this child my life. He stepped back, addressing the street one final time. Anyone touches this family, anyone even looks at them wrong, you answer to me. Spread the word. Then Dante did something nobody expected. He smiled at Maya, genuine, warm, transformative, and ruffled her hair like an uncle. You're something special, little angel. Don't ever change. The engines roared back to life in perfect unison. 100 motorcycles. One earth-shattering symphony of power. Dante climbed onto his bike at the front of the formation, gave Maya one last nod, and the entire convoy pulled away in thunderous precision. The neighborhood stood frozen, watching them disappear. Maya's mother collapsed onto the porch steps, envelope clutched in shaking hands. Baby, what did you do yesterday? Maya just smiled, smelling her roses. I helped someone, Mama, just like you taught me. 3 months later, Maya's street didn't even look like the same place. The transformation started small. Broken streetlights that had been dark for years suddenly blazed to life. Potholes that swallowed tires got filled overnight. The abandoned lot where drug dealers used to operate, now a community garden with actual flowers and vegetables growing. Nobody said who made it happen. Nobody had to. Maya's mother got the job at Dante's logistics company. Legitimate, legal, real. $45,000 a year with health insurance. Health insurance. She cried for an hour when she got her first paycheck. No more working until midnight. No more choosing between electricity and groceries. For the first time in Maya's life, the refrigerator was actually full. Mama, we have juice. Maya shouted one morning, and they both laughed until they couldn't breathe. But it wasn't just them. Mrs. Chun, 3 houses down, got help fixing her roof. Mr. Jackson's grandson got a scholarship to that good high school across town. The street dealers vanished like smoke, not violently, just gone, replaced by regular people walking safely after dark. Parents who used to rush their kids inside at sunset now sat on porches, actually relaxing. The neighborhood whispered, "More Eddie's protection," 2 words that meant everything. Dante visited every few weeks, always respectful, always bringing something small. Books for Maya, flowers for her mother, groceries for elderly neighbors. He never came with his full crew anymore, just 1 or 2 guys who waited by the car. He'd sit on their couch, this kingpin, drinking tea and asking Maya about school like a regular uncle. Got an A on my science project. Maya beamed, showing him her report on the human heart. The heart, huh? Dante smiled, something sad flickering in his eyes. That's fitting. You got the biggest one I've ever seen, little angel. Maya's mother watched these visits with complex emotions warring on her face. Gratitude, fear, confusion, love. This man was dangerous. She wasn't stupid, but he was also keeping his word with an intensity that bordered on sacred. Why? She finally asked him one evening after Maya went to bed. Why care this much? Dante stared at his tea for a long moment. Because everyone in my life wants something from me. Power, money, protection, fear. But that little girl? She just wanted me to live. No agenda, no calculation, pure kindness. He looked up, his eyes haunted. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know what that means to someone like me? Before Maya's mother could respond, Dante's phone buzzed. His expression went ice cold. I have to go, he said, standing abruptly. Lock your doors tonight. Don't open them for anyone. What's happening? But he was already out the door, his men appearing like shadows, engines roaring to life. The next morning, the news reported that the Carboni family, Dante's rivals, had attempted to kidnap a young girl from the neighborhood. Attempted. The girl was found safe within an hour, returned to her family without a scratch. The Carboni soldiers who'd grabbed her? Hospitalized. Not dead. Dante was too smart for that, but broken. The message delivered. Touch this neighborhood, touch NY people, and learn what happens. But then the Carbonis tried something desperate, something unforgivable. They came for Maya. It was after school, 3 men in a black SUV pulling up as she walked home. Your friend Dante wants to see you, sweetie. Get in the car. Maya wasn't stupid. She ran. They caught her within 50 feet, one man grabbing her backpack, yanking her back. She screamed, kicked, bit his hand until he bled. Neighbors started shouting, phones coming out, but the men were dragging her toward the vehicle. And then the roar. Motorcycles appeared from everywhere. 5, 10, 15, materializing like avenging angels. They surrounded the SUV in seconds, boxing it in, engines screaming. Dante's right-hand man, Marcus, was there first, pulling Maya away from the kidnapper with one arm while the other guys descended on the Carboni soldiers. No guns, no knives, just fists and fury and the kind of beating that sends a message. Dante arrived 60 seconds later, his bike skidding to a stop, his face murderous. He didn't even look at the Carboni men being restrained. He went straight to Maya, dropping to his knees, checking her for injuries with shaking hands. Did they hurt you? Maya, look at me. Did they hurt you? I'm okay, she whispered, but she was crying now, the terror finally hitting. I remembered what you said about strangers, and I ran. Good girl. Good girl. Dante pulled her into a hug, this terrifying crime lord holding an 8-year-old like she was made of glass. You're safe now. I promise. I promise. He stood, still holding Maya, and turned to the Carboni men with eyes that promised death. Get them out of my sight, he told Marcus quietly. Take them to Sal. Make sure the Carbonis understand. This was their last warning. They come near this neighborhood again, near this girl again, and we go to war. Actual war. You tell them that. The men were dragged away. The SUV was driven off to be dismantled. Neighbors surrounded Maya and Dante, protective, furious, united. Nobody touches our girl, Mrs. Chun said fiercely, and others echoed her. Our girl. The neighborhood had claimed Maya as theirs just as fiercely as Dante had. That night, 20 bikers stationed themselves around Maya's block. A rotating guard. Invisible, but there. Dante sat on their couch until midnight, refusing to leave until Maya fell asleep feeling safe. I failed you today, he said quietly to Maya's mother. You saved her, she corrected. You and your people saved her. 2 weeks later was Maya's 9th birthday. Dante didn't just throw a party. He threw an event. Bounce houses. Face painting. Actual petting zoo. Food trucks giving away free food. Every kid in the neighborhood got presents. The elderly got gift baskets. There was a DJ, a magician, a balloon artist, and 100 bikers singing happy birthday off-key while Maya laughed so hard she couldn't breathe. Dante watched from the side, Marcus next to him. Boss, the Carbonis sent word. They're backing off. Permanently. Good, Dante said, never taking his eyes off Maya as she danced with her friends. Because if they'd touched one hair on her head, I'd have burned their entire operation to the ground. Maya caught his eye across the party and waved, her smile brighter than the sun. Dante waved back, and for just a moment, the monster everyone feared looked almost human. 10 years exploded by like a tornado of change. Maya wasn't that scared little 8-year-old anymore. She was 18, standing at her high school graduation in a cap and gown that represented something impossible for a girl from her neighborhood. Valedictorian. Full academic scholarship offers from 6 universities. A future so bright it burned. And, sitting in the front row, Dante Moretti and 50 of his crew, dressed in their best suits, looking like proud uncles at a family wedding. I'm going to be a doctor, Maya announced at dinner that night, her eyes blazing with determination. I'm going to save lives. Like I saved yours, Dante. But hundreds of them. Thousands. Her mother's face fell. Baby, medical school costs. It's handled, Dante interrupted, sliding an envelope across the table. Inside, a check that made Maya's mother gasp out loud. Full ride. Tuition, books, housing, everything. For all of it. Undergrad, med school, residency if needed. Dante, this is too much, Maya's mother started. It's not enough. Dante's voice cracked with emotion. This girl saved my life when she was 8 years old. She gave me something nobody ever had, a second chance to be better, to do better. And now she's going to save hundreds of lives because of who she is. You think I'd let money stop that? You think I'd let this, he gestured at the check, stand between Maya and her destiny? Maya was crying now. I'll make you proud. I swear I'll make you proud. You already have, little angel, Dante said softly. Every single day. Medical school was brutal. 4 years of hell, sleepless nights, impossible exams, clinical rotations that broke students mentally and physically. But Maya was forged in a rough neighborhood. She was made of something harder than other students. When they complained about stress, she remembered watching her mother work 2 jobs. When they talked about quitting, she remembered a bleeding man on the roadside that everyone else ignored. She didn't just survive medical school. She dominated it. Dante checked in constantly. Text messages during exam weeks. Care packages during rotations. Phone calls when she was breaking down at 3 a.m., wondering if she could do this. He never missed a major moment. White coat ceremony, first day of clinical rotations, every milestone. You're going to change the world, he told her. I know it like I know my own name. And then came graduation day from medical school. Dr. Maya Rodriguez. The auditorium was packed. Her mother sobbing in the front row. Her neighbors who'd watch her grow up cheering. And Dante? Dante brought 100 bikers in full dress leather, filling an entire section of the arena. When Maya's name was called, they erupted, whistles, shouts, applause that shook the building. Other families looked around confused. Maya just beamed. The dean, reading her bio, mentioned she was opening a clinic in an underserved neighborhood. The audience applauded politely. Dante's crew roared, because they knew what this meant. 6 months later, the Rodriguez Community Health Clinic opened its doors in Maya's old neighborhood. The same streets where she used to walk scared. The same blocks where people used to suffer without access to health care. The same community that raised her. The clinic was beautiful. State-of-the-art equipment. Warm colors. Comfortable waiting room. A sliding scale payment system. Pay what you can, get treated regardless. Free care for those with nothing. Health care is a human right, not a privilege. And standing outside on opening day, Dante and his entire crew, making sure everyone knew this clinic was protected. Untouchable. Sacred ground. Nobody messes with the doc, became the street motto. Maya treated everyone. Gang members and grandmothers. Kids with scraped knees and adults with chronic illness. She didn't judge, didn't discriminate, just healed. Just like she'd healed a bleeding stranger 10 years ago. One afternoon, a young boy stumbled in, maybe 7 years old, bleeding from a fall, terrified and alone. Maya knelt beside him immediately, her hands gentle, her voice calm. Hey, buddy, you're going to be okay. I'm Dr. Maya, and I'm going to help you. What's your name? As she cleaned his wounds, talking to him softly, keeping him calm, she saw herself. That scared little girl who stopped for a stranger. And she understood with crystal clarity. This was the ripple. This was how one moment of compassion created endless waves of change. Dante visited that evening, watching her work from the waiting room. Their eyes met across the space. No words needed, just understanding. That little 8-year-old girl's kindness hadn't just saved one life. It had transformed a neighborhood, changed a kingpin's purpose, created a legacy of healing that would touch thousands. Maya walked outside as Dante was leaving. The sun was setting over their neighborhood safe and thriving and alive. Thank you, she said simply, for believing in me. No, little angel. Dante smiled, his eyes misty. Thank you for teaching a monster how to be human again. He drove away, and Maya stood there, Dr. Maya Rodriguez, looking at her clinic, her community, her purpose. One act of kindness, one moment of compassion. Everything changed. If this story gave you chills, if it made you believe in the power of kindness, then smash that subscribe button right now. Drop a like if you think one person can change the world. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that compassion is the most powerful force in the universe.